My family expected me to plan my vacation around my sister and her kids and were furious when I didn't. So I limited my contact with them, ignoring their attacks. But after 2 months, they showed up at my doorstep. Hey, Reddit. Before we dive in, I've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is the best way to support us. It's quick, free, and it truly helps grow this amazing community. Let's start the story. I've always been the independent one in my family. I don't have kids. I don't live in the same city as my parents or siblings, and I don't shape my life around holidays or birthdays like they do. That's not to say I don't love them. I do, but I'm also a person with boundaries, goals, and my own rhythm. And, apparently, that makes me the villain. This all started when I decided to take a 2-week vacation in September. It was the perfect time for me. Work was quiet, flights were cheap, and I'd been saving for a solo trip through the Pacific Northwest. Hiking, writing in the mornings, reading by lakes in the afternoons, and being completely unreachable. That was my dream. The problem. My sister Hannah and her 3 kids were also planning a vacation, and the rest of the family expected me to align my trip with theirs. They brought it up during a family Zoom call in July. My mom said something like, "It would be so nice if you could join us in Florida in mid-August. Hannah already booked the place, and the kids would love to see you." I replied politely but firmly that I'd already made plans for September, and it was a solo trip I really needed. The silence on the call was immediate. Hannah sighed loudly. My dad muttered something about priorities. And my mom, who always tries to be the peacekeeper, just said, "Well, we thought you'd want to be with family. You've been so distant lately." That comment stung more than I care to admit. Distant? Maybe. But only because every family gathering had turned into some chaotic kid-centric event where I ended up babysitting or sleeping on a couch while everyone else got the master bedrooms. I'm not exaggerating. Hannah once asked me to change my return flight so I could stay an extra day to watch her twins while she and her husband went on a date. I used to bend over backward for them, but I'm 30 now. I'm tired of being the default helper. After the call, I got a slew of texts. Hannah said I was selfish. My mom said she was disappointed. My brother, who is mostly a neutral party, asked if I was okay, but gently reminded me that family should come first. I didn't respond to most of them. I went ahead with my plans, booked my flights, and limited my contact with them over the next couple of months. I stopped joining weekly calls. I didn't comment on Facebook photos of their vacation. And when they posted beach pics with captions like "family is everything," I simply muted them. I wasn't angry. I just didn't have the energy for the guilt trips anymore, and I was happy for the first time in months. My trip was everything I needed, peaceful, beautiful. I hiked in the rain, journaled every night, and didn't check my phone unless I had to. I felt like I was finally living in alignment with who I really was. When I got back, I eased into work and resumed my life quietly. I figured the dust had settled. I was wrong. 2 months after my trip on a rainy Saturday morning, I heard a knock at my apartment door. I wasn't expecting anyone. I live in a mid-sized city a few hours from where my parents and sister live. Most of my friends text before showing up. So I opened the door with a bit of confusion and nearly dropped my coffee. Hannah was standing there. Behind her were 3 kids, ages 6, 8, and 12, wet from the rain and carrying backpacks. No warning. No text. Nothing. I just blinked. "What are you doing here?" Her expression was already defensive. She didn't smile. She looked like she was bracing for a fight. "We were in the neighborhood. The kids missed you, and you haven't answered anyone in weeks." I stood there, heart racing, trying to process what was happening. "You didn't call," I said slowly. "We figured it would be better to just talk in person," she said, pushing past me and walking into my apartment like she owned the place. The kids followed her in, already kicking off shoes and unpacking snacks from their bags. My tiny apartment, normally so quiet, was instantly loud and chaotic. The youngest spilled juice on my carpet within 3 minutes. I closed the door, stunned. Hannah was talking nonstop about how hard it's been without my support, how mom's worried sick, how the kids cry because they miss me. I didn't say anything. I was too busy feeling the panic crawl up my spine. I'm not used to people barging into my space. My home is my sanctuary. And yet here they were, unpacking for what seemed like an extended stay as if I was the one who'd gone wrong by setting a boundary. They stayed for 6 hours. 6. They ate my food, messed up my apartment, used my towels, and treated me like a guest in my own home. When I tried to say something, anything, Hannah would talk over me or shift the conversation to how the kids were just trying to reconnect. And I didn't want to be cruel. I love my nieces and nephew. I do. But this wasn't right. Eventually, when I hinted, strongly, that I had plans that night and needed to get ready, she finally gathered the kids. No apology, just a passive-aggressive hug and a muttered, "Maybe next time you won't ignore your family." When the door finally shut behind them, I sat down on the couch and cried. It wasn't just about the surprise visit. It was the culmination of years of being treated like the flexible one, the disposable one, the one who didn't have a family of her own, so obviously she could adjust. My time, my space, my energy, it was never respected. And now they'd crossed a line. I didn't answer when my mom called the next day. I needed time to think, to decide what to do next because this wasn't sustainable anymore. I couldn't be the family's emotional punching bag or emergency babysitter or default host. Something needed to change, but I had no idea that Hannah showing up at my door was only the beginning. The following week was pure silence from me. I didn't call, didn't text, didn't answer anything. Not because I wanted to punish anyone, but because I needed to breathe without guilt clouding every thought. But that silence didn't last long on their end. By Tuesday, my mom had sent me a long email. She opened with her usual tone of concern, but it quickly turned into a list of complaints. How I was pulling away from the family, how Hannah had just wanted to reconnect, how I'd broken everyone's hearts by checking out during the summer and choosing my trip over the kids. It ended with a line that made my stomach twist. "You're not a mother, so maybe you don't understand what family means." That line echoed in my head for days. I could have buried it, told myself they meant well, and moved on. But that sentence, that quiet little stab, told me everything I needed to know. So I wrote back. I didn't hold back anymore. I told her everything. How I've always been the one expected to bend, to adjust, to be the flexible sister who'd watch the kids, give up a room, or rearrange her life so everyone else could be comfortable. I told her how exhausting it's been to always be seen as less because I don't have children, like my worth was somehow tied to reproduction. And I told her how deeply inappropriate it was for Hannah to show up unannounced, invade my space, and then act like I was the problem for being uncomfortable. I ended the email with one line, "I love you. But if this family continues to treat my boundaries as betrayals, I will step back permanently." That must have scared her because she didn't reply for 2 days. Then came the phone call. I didn't answer. A few hours later, Hannah texted me. Not an apology. Not even acknowledgement. Just, "You didn't need to make mom cry. You always take things too far." I stared at that message for a long time, and then I blocked her. I didn't do it out of rage. I did it because I knew this was the cycle. Hannah does something selfish. The family enables it. I react, and then I'm the bad guy for not being gracious enough. I was done playing that part. A few days later, my brother called. He's always been the quiet middle child, the peacekeeper. He said he wanted to come visit just to talk. I hesitated, but agreed because unlike the others, he respected my space. When he showed up, he brought coffee and sat across from me like he actually wanted to listen. I told him everything, how suffocated I'd felt, how the family had treated me like an unpaid babysitter for years, how being child-free didn't mean I was selfish or directionless. He nodded through most of it. Then he said something that surprised me. "You know, you're not wrong, but I think Mom and Hannah genuinely don't see it. They're so wrapped up in their own chaos. They assume you're just floating around waiting to help." That hit harder than I expected. Not because I didn't know it was true, but because hearing someone else say it made it real. He asked me what I wanted. I told him I wanted distance. Not forever, but enough to reset. I needed them to understand I wasn't their emotional workhorse. I wasn't the single sister with infinite time and patience. I was a full person with a life that deserved the same respect they expected for theirs. He nodded again and left. No promises, no defenses, just acceptance. Weeks passed. I didn't hear from my mom, not a word from Hannah. It was like I'd been erased from the group chat. I should have felt sad, and part of me did. But mostly, I felt peace. Real, quiet, restorative peace until mid-November. It was a Friday evening. I was about to start a movie when I saw a group text pop up sent from my mom with everyone included, even me. The message was an invitation. Thanksgiving dinner at Hannah's house. Everyone was welcome, and she made sure to add, "We really hope you'll come this time." No pressure. Just love. I stared at it for 10 full minutes. It looked innocent, kind even, but I knew what it was. A reset attempt. No apology, no acknowledgement, just a blank slate invitation, like nothing had happened. And I wasn't going to play along. So I replied, "Thank you, but I'll be spending Thanksgiving at home this year. Wishing everyone a peaceful holiday." No drama, just truth. Hannah didn't reply. My mom sent a thumbs up emoji. That was it. And you know what? That Thanksgiving was one of the best I've ever had. I cooked my favorite meal. I listened to music all morning. I ate pie straight from the tin, FaceTimed a few close friends, and went for a long walk through the quiet streets while the whole city was inside, busy. I didn't feel alone. I felt free. Since then, things have been quieter. My mom has started reaching out again, this time with less guilt and more actual questions about me. She's asked how work is going, what book I'm reading. Small things, but they feel real. Hannah. Still blocked. I don't miss her chaos. Maybe one day we'll talk again, but only if she's willing to acknowledge the damage and meet me as an equal. Not a babysitter, not a backup plan, not the one who's supposed to carry the emotional weight for everyone else. For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm living for me, and I'm not going back.